Okay, here we go. Aloha nui kako. My name is Misty Sanico. I'm a Kanaka Wavy writer and a communications manager for Bamboo Ridge Press. Mahalo for joining us today, all of you in the audience, and our wonderful authors, and Vicky, our editor extraordinaire, for this virtual celebration and launch of issue number 126 of Bamboo Ridge Journal of Hawaiʻi Literature and Arts. Just some housekeeping announcements that you're free to use the chat or the question and answers down there at the bottom of your screen. We will have some time at the end to chat or ask the writers any questions. So go ahead and put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll get to those at the end. But it's also important for us to protect our creative spaces and energies. So we ask that you connect with everyone here, me kama lama, so with care and respect. But feel free to, put any emojis or shakas or hearts in the chat if you hear something that you love that the writers are reading and sharing with you today. Let us know where you're joining us from, like, where on the world and how you're doing. So we want to know. If you experience technical issues, feel free to message us in the chat. I'll do my best to assist you. If you want everybody to see your message too, make sure in the chat you select to share with everyone, not just the panelists. And yeah, so to minimize distractions, anybody who's participating, go ahead and put yourself on mute while someone's reading, but otherwise, we're good to go. I did just want to acknowledge that we are joining you from Indigenous lands and recognize the colonial legacies embedded in this technology that we're now using. These are central to our creative work, but they also contribute to climate change, which disproportionately impacts Indigenous peoples across the Pacific. So we can take this opportunity to honor Pacific Islander voices and Hawaii stories while reflecting on our shared kuleana for reconciliation and solidarity. Yeah, and also recognizing the importance of connection and community as we gather here today. Okay, so with that, I will tell you a little bit about Bamboo Ridge. We are celebrating our 46th year this year with the longest running nonprofit independent small press in Hawaii. We've published many books, and over 1,200 individual writers and artists have found their work in our pages. So a lot of great stuff and a lot of interesting things happening in 2025 with oral histories and other projects. So yeah, follow us on our social media and our website. Visit often to check things out. But I will now introduce Vicky, who we have been so fortunate to have work with us on this issue. It's a very special issue because, of her just great eye and her love for story. And I know that she wanted to include everybody, and we were the bad guys that had to tell her no. Okay. Victoria Nalani Kneubuhl is a Hawaii playwright and author. She has written plays, short stories, novels, living history programs, and television documentaries. Her anthologies, Hawaiʻi Island Plays, and Navigating Islands, Plays from the Pacific, as well as her 3 mystery novels, have been published by the University of Hawaii Press. In 1994, she was the recipient of the prestigious Hawaii Award for Literature, and in 2006, she received the Elliott Cades Award for Literature. Mahalo for being with us today, Vicky.
Aloha kako and ya'oko kavelina o ka ua na ulu o e ke ki ko'o aku nei me ke aloha. Greetings from Moku o Keawe, and the name of our beautiful island rain at this place is the Na'ulu rain, so I was sending you the greetings from our rain. It was really an honor for me to be the editor of this volume 126 for Bamboo Ridge. We had, I think, over 200 submissions that we had to cut down and to come up with this volume. And I think maybe over, or at least half, or maybe around half of the people who are in here are first timers for the Bamboo Ridge. So That's pretty exciting. You know, I recognized some names on submissions, but most people, I didn't know who they were. I didn't know how old they were. I didn't know where they're from. I didn't know anything about them. So it's really interesting to see and meet a lot of the authors at these events. After we do the readings, I'll tell you a little bit about Clem Lam, who did the beautiful artwork for this journal, but now let's get right into reading. And first, I would like to introduce our first reader, Sue Cowing. Sue lives near Mauna Lua Bay, where she writes poems, fiction, and letters to the editor, but mostly poems. She has published Fire in the Sea, an anthology of poetry and art. My Dog Has Flies, The Octopus of Imagination, and a middle grade novel, You Will Call Me Drog. And I know that Sue also plays the cello. So let's welcome Sue Cowing.
Sorry, you're on mute, Sue.
Now you
Here
can
we are.
hear me, yes? So I'll repeat my thanks to and my admiration to Bamboo Ridge for these long years of the great work they've done, providing opportunities for new and old writers to read and for the public to hear them, and especially for events like this where you can actually hear them out loud, which is a really wonderful thing. So, and congratulations to Vicki for this especially wonderful issue. Okay. As I said the other night, I realized when I saw my poems in this book that all three were based on natural events in Hawaii. The first one is called A Door is Open. A door is open, a lamp lit. That is how I think of it. Forgetting the doors a fissure, the lamp molten. I'm mesmerized by yellow rock in motion, glowing, flowing under black. I see this happening on television. Fear if I were there, I could lose all sense of danger, all memory of running footprints in cooled ash, and want to enter. Imagine stepping in, then in an instant, gone, cinderless, a hiss of steam, almost before you could feel that perfect burning. After the 100 years flood, now the shrimp on the mountain are sleeping again, but we saw them, rare as comets, darting through an awakened meadow of native ferns we thought at first were long-stemmed four-leaf clovers. It was just our luck, the year of the flood, the year waterfalls streamed down Cocoa Head, to live in the path between mountain and sea and take on water, while drought-adapted shrimp asleep up there under Kiawe scrub all along, doing a perfect imitation of crater dust, outwaited the enchantment of air until the memory of ocean, the water standing on the mountain prophecy should be fulfilled, then woke up, mad to mate. What for us was all mud in the house and yard, disheartening ruin. For the shrimp was it. Hen's teeth, blue moon, the hard to believe in 100-year prince's kiss, at last, wet and sexual. Some of you will remember the huge, the king tide we had that was also generated a huge wave a few years ago, and this is about this. A swell weekend. A blessing, this historic South Shore swell that wipes out all our news, luring us from our screens and houses to the shore, with nothing but ocean on our mind for once, its energy and power. Bless the seasoned surfers deciding not to enter, knowing as well what they cannot do as what they can, simply watching the giant waves with joy, with awe. Bless the foolish amateurs who plow right in, GoPros ready, seeing this as their one big chance. Bless the quiet watermen, alert to rescue them from broken boards and bones. Bless Rocky, who's known such swells before, calmly nursing her monk pup at Kaimana and teaching him how to be a seal. Soon we'll all get back to normal, I suppose, taking the ocean's gifts for granted once again, letting our flotsam and jetsam rush back in, wiping the salty sand from between our toes, and turning on the news. I have a little bit of time, I think, and what I would like to do, the next wonderful editor of the next issue will be Naomi Shihab Nye, whom I've known for a long time and loved. And I want to read something that she wrote long ago, but is so topical now. And it's not a poem, it's an essay that's been anthologized many times. And it will give you a sense of who Naomi is. It's called Gate A4. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of Gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing. Help, said the flight attendant. Talk to her. What is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be late and she did this. I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. And I'm not going to attempt the Arabic. Several phrases in Arabic follow. The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, no, we're fine. You'll get there just later. Who's picking you up? Let's call him. We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, talking of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with the powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant, always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can happen anywhere. Not everything is lost.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Our next reader is Cheryl Ann Farrell, a semi-retired college professor who has lived on Kauai for over 20 years. Besides writing, she is an avid ocean swimmer and bicycles regularly. She has published both short stories and poetry and is a member of Live Poet Society and Hawaiʻi Writers Guild. So please welcome Cheryl Ann Farrell.
Thank you. Thank you, Bamboo Ridge, for this opportunity for us all to be able to share our work. Great. And just a little background on this story. It was originally written for a competition, and the rules were it had to be based in the year 2200. It had to be positive, and it had to center around climate change issues. Okay. Ikawa mamua, ikawa mahope. The future is secured by the past. Yesterday's tomorrow. Po'ino, Ululani barked. It was the third damage alert in the past week for the farm warehouse in the Weli Weli a Pua'a. The islands had returned to the Moku system of traditional land management division, which divides the island into districts. The soil became too saturated from excessive rain and too acidic for traditional farming. Each Apua'a developed its own aquaponic farm, often in abandoned buildings. Ula offered to watch over all the island warehouses for the Christmas and New Year's 2-week break. I don't know why I keep getting these damage alerts in the Weli Weli warehouse. Well, weren't the last 2 alerts canceled as false alarms? No, but it keeps happening. I should go in person. Oh, but it's New Year's Eve. We're entering 2200, leaving 2199 behind for good. The fireworks start at 9 tonight. Just survey the warehouse remotely. Each Apua'a grew most of what was needed: vegetables, fruits, nuts, and soybeans. Fishing was abundant, though most residents ate little meat. Oh, it shouldn't be more than a couple of hours, Maka. Are any of the neighbors coming to watch fireworks? Yes, the invite is for 6 p.m. Well, I'll be home before then to help you set up. Inside the warehouse, everything appeared normal. Ula pulled up the alert on the 3D hologram app to pinpoint the location of the warning. Oh, looks like a rainwater hose in aisle 17, Greenleaf lettuce aisle. The alert was again canceled as a false alarm. Ula pulled up the previous alerts to check their locations: tomato section and the chicken coop at the opposite end of the warehouse. The chicken coop area seemed fine. A closer look at the water supply hoses revealed a section of the hose had been replaced. Well, how would this have been replaced? I didn't send anyone. Ula then went to aisle 32. The hoses were fine, but the flange gate which regulated the catchment from the rain outside had been welded. Who would have done that? Puzzled by these repairs, she headed to aisle 17. As she got closer, it was obvious the sprinkler system was running. She glanced at the time. It was 3:30. Sprinklers usually come on at 3 a.m., not 3 p.m. She headed down the aisle to see why the timer was malfunctioning. Whoosh! Something moved behind her. Startled by the thought someone else might be in the warehouse, she called out, "Hello, who's here?" She waited. Suddenly, the water stopped. The work pad showed the last edited date was today, 12/31/2199. I'm the only one with clearance to adjust that programming, and I didn't do that. Whoosh! A set shadow brushed to another aisle. Who is here? Show yourself. Do it now, or I will call security and have them find you. Ula heard a door slam shut. The sound came from the southwest corner of the building. Off she went, her heart pounding, wondering what she would do if she encountered someone. She reached the southwest wall. She took a deep breath and opened the door to the storage area. The first room she entered was the seed storage room. The next room stored materials for any breakdown in the hardware. It had metal rails, boxes, ladders, etc. Finally, the last room. The handle turned, but the door was stuck. She leaned into it and then threw her weight with a shoulder bump against it. It popped open. The room was quite small and empty. Then she realized there was a partition. Behind it, there was a bed, clothesline, sink with running water, small burner plate for cooking. It was neat and tidy. Aloha, I know you're here somewhere. I won't have you arrested or hurt you. Please come out. Ula heard that same whoosh and turned around suddenly. The small-statured, incredibly old person was standing in front of her. Whoa, who are you? Do you live here? Me? I called Elu. I stay here long time. Aloha, I'm Ulalani, and I am the supervisor for all the Moku warehouse farms on the island. And how long is a long time? Elu was short, under 5 feet, and with the bent posture looked even smaller. His hands were gnarled and bumpy, weathered and old. Oh, I moved in when this was built. Well, this was built 15 years ago. Has it been you making the repairs in the warehouse all this time? Yes. Well, how are you able to bypass all of our security settings? I'm smart. Well, that may be, but you need a biometric key to enter the system. No, I use magic. Magic? I doubt that. How did you end up here? Oh, I live by the hill by the beach, and when everybody go back to using mokus and the warehouses was built, my space got taken. So I live same place as before, just inside. Well, why do you do the repairs? It pay for my stay. Do the harvesters know you're here? No, I hide, making visible. Ula glanced at the time. It was already 5:15. Oh, geez, I must go. Nothing's going to happen today. The harvesters all return on Monday, January 6th, and we need to discuss the situation before then. So you'll have to get the edition to find out what happens to everybody. And it's a happy ending. So it's a fun, happy ending story. So,
Okay. Thank
And-
you, Cheryl.
and you said we had a little bit more time. I thought I'd read a very, very short story that was published. It's 300 words. It's a full story, and it's Christmassy. So I'm going to read that real quick. This was published in an online publication called Witcraft. And it's a kind of a Christmas story. This is Escape from Christmas Island. Ho, 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 Chris shouted to begin the annual festivities on Christmas Island, a tradition for as long as anyone could remember. The week-long party included dancing, running about, plenty of drinking. One big hurrah before the Christmas work began. Are the mermaids again invited this year? Mrs. Claus asked. Well, of course, mermaids love a good party. And Halia? Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen her since last year. Halia, a blue-tailed mermaid, flirted heavily with Chris last year, which led to a romantic liaison. Consequently, she gave birth to 100 eggs. These eggs hatched into little tadpole-like creatures. Hideous, though, as each had the head of Santa, beard and all, and Halia's blue fish tail. Mrs. Claus schemed to scoop up all the creatures and kill them. But Halia prevailed by taking them all out to sea and vanished. By day 3 of the festival, both forgot all about Halia and her brood, until a drum beat was heard in the distance, approaching with a chant, ho, 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 ho. With each stomp, the ho got louder. Chris woke from a stupor. What the hell? The sea shimmered with movement of hundreds, if not thousands, of these sea creatures from his spawn. They were a cross between a mermaid, Neptune, and Santa, each holding a spear as they headed inland, stabbing everything as they went. Where's our papa? Ho, ho, ho. These creatures slithered and propped themselves up to stab at anyone at Chris Kringle's crew. Chris grabbed his pants, flip-flops, his red suit, and headed for his canoe. If I don't escape, Christmas will be gone. Once in the canoe, he headed for the North Pole. He relaxed until he heard tapping. Chris turned around. One of the spawns made it aboard. Quietly, it squeaked out. Papa? Papa? It said again, with a wide grin that showed off his piranha teeth while tapping his spear on the bottom of the canoe.
All right. Thank you. That was fun. Right. Okay. Our next reader, I'd like you to welcome Donna Cate Henderson. She currently lives, writes, and makes art in North Central Oregon, where she is also a practicing psychotherapist. Send Word, her fourth collection of poems, was released in 2022 by Riparian Press. And for more, you can visit her at donnacatehenderson.com. So let's welcome Donna.
Thank you, Victoria. What a pleasure to be here. The poem that I'm going to read, the poem that's in issue 126 is the first actually of a series of linked poems, and I'm going to read all three tonight. And the inspiration for it was a project that a Casio Viana, a composer and someone that I occasionally collaborate with, he inspired this poem by imagining a musical composition that called Pan American Suite, that the idea for which, and it's still in progress actually, the idea for which is to represent the in song and music the experience of all of Pan America, which includes North and South and Central America and all the islands associated with them, with the idea of really finding a way to bring all of the voices of immigrant experience, of explorer experience, of indigenous experience, of everything and everyone that makes up Pan America. So that was quite a challenge. And the idea was that I might write a text to which the music would respond. So I spent quite some time thinking about how to even approach that. And what I decided was that what I wanted to stay away from was really speaking for, especially as a white woman of European origins, speaking for other voices, which seemed like there was no way to sort of do that without appropriating that experience in some way. But being a lover of the Cento poem, which, as you may know, is a patchwork kind of poem where you take lines from other people's work and don't edit them in any way, but put them together in a new configuration where they're kind of in conversation with each other. Suddenly that seemed like the way to go about this. So what I did then for months afterwards was to really immerse myself in the contemporary poetry of, as a representative, I'll say, selection of the peoples that make up Pan America, including the languages in which those were and are written. And what began to develop out of that by just sort of drawing from those lines, and I translated some of them myself in the languages that I know, and then used the translations of others for those I didn't. In the process of just pulling lines that attracted me, it was really quite a profound experience, because what emerged out of that, just putting those together and then beginning to sort of assemble them, was I felt as though I really heard those voices. And the poem, in a way, came to write itself and to tell its own story in the many voices that make up Pan America. So I began to feel as though I really was just a vehicle for that, something that was happening in a very intimate way, but that I was not so much making as participating in. So the final poem represents actually 9 languages of the many that it also represents. And there's something else I wanted to say about it. Yeah, so in the sequence, as I'll read it, the first one will be Otakahea, which is a Lakota word meaning in the beginning. And at the end, the last line of the poem then becomes the title of the next. And so there are three that make this up. And the middle section is actually not, it's partly cento, but it's also partly a little bit kind of discursive. It's made up of a bunch of my own lines that sort of speaks about what Pan America is. So with that introduction, I will just read the poem. Pan American Suite, beginning with Otakahea, in the beginning. This is my homeland. Here I was born and here I live my dreams. I come from everywhere and to everywhere I go. I've come to shake hands with everyone in the world and the innocent earth without good or evil. I hear what went before us, but which I don't yet touch. History has its eyes on us. The new day blooms as we free it, for there is always light, however a light may come, newborn out of sleep and forgetting. If only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. You will dwell in me as in your kingdom, in an eternal arrival to the country of love. In an eternal arrival to the country of love. We have just begun to touch the dazzling whirlwind of our anger. We belong to native nations of the North American landscapes. In what's called Latin America, we're more than half who dwell. We speak in the tongues of the occupiers and conquerors, but we also speak Navajo, Inuktitut, and Arawak, Olelo Hawaiʻi, Quechua, Karaskar. We speak in 1,000 indigenous languages. 5.8 million alone of us speak Guarani. Write one more stanza now. Set the page ablaze with the anger in the hollow ache of our bones. Air is between these words, fanning the flame. And we too want to sing. And we too want to sing. We sing our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the sunlit sea song past of my parents' island, carrying withered memories that go whispering in verse and ballads, that which is not censored and never will be, that which does not make sense. Of torrents upon rock, the whispering, of the task of being, the bitterness. I want to enjoy the new flowered song, the sound the stars make rushing through the sky. I want to take part in the new day and in the new dawn. For now, my wander song, the carol of robins perched on my pear tree. What if we joined our sorrows? I'm saying, what if that is joy? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna.
Sorry, just to clarify for everyone though, the last two poems in that sequence, the linked poems, are not in the issue, correct, Donna?
Right, correct.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's okay.
towards the end, maybe you can drop a link for where people can find those.
I will be happy to.
Okay, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Don Mitchell is up next. Don Mitchell is an anthropologist and writer. He graduated from Hilo High in 1960. Yes. He now lives near Ithaca, New York. His publications include a book of short ethnographic fiction, A Red Woman Was Crying, and a memoir, Shibai, Remembering Jane Britton's Murder. He'll read a chapter of Mauka, his novel set on the Big Island.
All right. Thank you, Misty and Veronica and everybody. This is great, to be so far away and still in connection with everybody. So let me just get started here. My contribution to number 126 is a chapter from my novel, Mauka. I'll tell you a bit about it and then read some lightly edited sections from the chapter. Mauka is set in 2018 in Hilo and on Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, thus the title. The two narrators are Jun Nakashima and Max Nelson, friends at Hilo High 60 years ago, who meet unexpectedly in Hilo when Jun returns from the mainland, find common ground with running, hiking, and writing, and eventually fall in love. But it's not a simple kupuna love story. Along the way, they reveal secrets from their pasts and figure out how to deal with the residues of long ago trauma, rape, murder, a murky death on Mauna Loa, and the 1960 tsunami, which nearly took them both. They write memoirs about Hilo and read them to each other. The Bamboo Ridge chapter is Jun's tsunami memoir, so the voice and writing are hers, not mine. Well, you know what I mean. Jun writes in third person, switching between her 2018 self and SJG, or shy Japanese girl, her young self. Jun was sexually assaulted by a gang of Hilo High boys a few months before the tsunami and never told anyone. She intends to write about it, but in her tsunami memoir, she only hints at it. Excuse me, here are two sections. In the first one, Jun's writing about how she and Max located her old house in Kimiville, which in Hilo is where the soccer fields are now. Kimiville was destroyed. Jun's walking backwards and not looking over her shoulder. She isn't worried because Max has his hand in the small of her back. Tango pops into Jun's head, even though she's never tangoed with Max or anyone else. They're near Kumu, a truncated street that used to run between Kamehameha and Keawe, along a bridge over the drainage canal and through Kimiville. Now Jun's moved onto the soccer field and, still with Max's hand on her, begins a reverse trilateration, shifting position until the old mango tree, St. Joe's Cathedral steeple, and the green buoy in the bay fall into their proper relationships to her. Max goes into hands-off mode, gets out of her way. She'll be free to do whatever she wants to. He doesn't know what that will be. Neither does Jun, who understands she won't know until she gets there. When she's sure she's at the physical there, she stops and says, home. But there are different theirs. The tango positioned Jun in horizontal grassy space. Imaginary lines radiate from her, fixing her at their intersection. She imagines them resolving into triangles, distances, bearings, particularly her bearing, which is no longer one of uncertainty, stamps her foot, roots herself, stands tall. The charm bracelet she lost at 12 might be under her feet. Now Jun knows where she is, where SJG was. She savors Max's word, trilateration, speaks it. It feels right because it grades into laceration, which is both just over SJG's horizon and some weeks into her past. Trilateration's about space. What about time? Imagine a triangle. One side short and two are very long, 60 years. And for the short side, 8 months. Where the two long sides meet the apex, the name of that corner is Jun. And although her angle of view is very narrow, she can resolve the other two, named SJG before and SJG after, fall 1959 and spring 1960. One's an innocent and the other's not. Neither one knows what's coming for her. And here's the escape. Jun's father after all the sirens and everything, refused to leave the house. SJG thinks for the 10th or 30th time, please, Father, but it's too late. Now an ooh with a rising finish, a crunch, a lunge. The house begins moving. Father, Mother, she runs to them. They hold each other. There's screaming and shouting outside, splashes, crashes, rushing water noise. The street lights go out. The ocean's coming in under the door. The three of them climb on the bed. Maybe the water will stop. Surely the water will stop. The water doesn't stop. Maybe the house will stop moving. Surely the house will stop moving. The house doesn't stop moving. It's up to their waists. They're paralyzed. It wasn't even fear, June remembers. It was, this can't be happening, paralysis. The three of them cling to each other, treading water in what was the attic. SJG shakes free from her mother, her father. The window, she says to them, splashing. They don't respond. SJG knows where the window should be, dives, 2 hands on the frame, twists, knees to her chest, kicks, bottom out, again, top out. Now there's enough room for a slender Japanese girl's shoulders, cuts on her bare feet, salt water stinging. Water's rushing in through the window. She struggles against the current, out and up. The water's at roof level, slowly moving. The house has reversed its course, is moving towards the bay. The ocean's draining back where it belongs faster than the house is moving. If she lets go, she'll be swept out to sea. SJG goes for the metal roof, no gutter. Rafter tails her only purchase. The backflow's caught her. She can't stay vertical. Pulls herself along, looking for a way up. There, a vent pipe she can reach. Feet against a rafter tail, twist, lunge, grab, pull. Her pajama top catches on the roof's sharp metal edge, pulls down around her waist. Her chest is slashed. Sprawls on the roof face down, gasping, retching. The ridged metal cold, rough nail heads poking her breast. Her vomit runs down the corrugated iron channels. Gets her knees under her, frogs hop up, flops over, wedging the pipe between her legs. June knows SJG's parents float up against the roof, already drowned because the ocean poured through the smashed window and filled the house. The ocean drains. The house stops moving, settles. SJG gets on hands and knees, then up, rushing the peak, arms waving for balance. Stands half naked astride the roof that saved her. On her chest, rivers of blood. Raises her arms, loses a scream at the earthquake, at the wave, at them. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Our next reader is Misty-Lynn Sanico. She's a local writer. I think you might know her. Misty says she came with only 3 factory settings: sad, spooky, and silly. One day she hopes to craft a piece of writing that embodies all 3. So let's welcome Misty.
No, yay, thank you, Victoria. Okay, so just a little bit about the piece. I've never written a stage play or a monologue before, but I was so excited when when I found out Victoria was going to be editing this issue, because I've always signed up to do her workshops at Kumukuhua Theater, but they always fill up so fast. So I'm always on the waiting list, but I thought I'm going to give it a shot and just submit it anyway. And she liked it. So I was very, very happy to be included. But yeah, I never wrote a monologue, and I tried to think about who I knew who could talk for 10 minutes straight, like as a monologue. And I actually know a lot of people who can do that, and they're all related to me. So lots of Portuguese ladies in my family could definitely monologue. And so in honor of them, I wear this little kerchief here because all their voices sort of congealed into one character. Her name is Crystal Marie Cristobal, the Portuguese fortune teller. And so at first I didn't have anything to write for a monologue, and then all of a sudden this character just wouldn't be quiet, and now I have a series of monologues that I'm working on, but this is the first one. I'm excited to share it with you today. So let's do that. Hang on. So I'll read some of the stage directions as well. So phone rings twice. Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Can I share my screen really fast here? I wanted to show you guys in the book. There's actually before the piece, there's this little ad graphic that shows up in the book, and it's for Crystal Marie Cristobal, divination readings, palmistry potions, unlock the mysteries of the universe, seek guidance from the spirits, gaze into the future and know your fate. Accurate predictions, but no guarantees, no refunds, no blame me. Okay. So let's see. Phone rings twice. Aloha, this is Crystal Marie. How may I guide you today? Is this your first time calling? You seen my ad? Nice, yeah? Uh-huh. Oh, mahalo, you so sweet. I think you must be one Gemini, no? Wait, no, tell me. One Pisces then. No, you're on the cusp, that's why, but it's okay. This year gonna be good for you. So, what you need, what you like, no. Wait, no, tell me. You need one cleansing. Someone went kubrant you, curse, true curse, was probably Cheryl, always giving us stink eye just because we in the LA for know if she oofing the neighbor's husband. Was Cheryl who had cast the kubrant at us. Oh, you don't know who is Cheryl? Oh, you safe then. Okay, how about I write one spell for make Kenji Kazukalama fall in love with you? You don't know Kenji Kalama? Ho, then. He's so handsome. Well, maybe you like one tonic for make Susan Salvato's face come all hemo, cause she once say you was too fat for be on a dance team back in high school. No? Oh. Speaking of fat, if you like get rid of your momona legs, I give you one homemade potion lotion for half off. Half off on the potion, not the legs. And no guarantees, cause never work for my neighbor. Her legs still small kind big. More big than Cheryl's. That's why, you know. But for you, going work, I can tell. Oh, your legs already skinny. Lucky then. See, I can tell. Okay, so you're helping plan one engagement party. Wait, no, tell me. You getting married and this going to be the wedding of your dreams. Oh my God. Oh, it's your cousin's wedding. And you're the only one still going single. Even though you get skinny legs. You sure you don't like Kenji Kalama fall in love with you then? Okay, and you like me come do mystical divinations. Good fun, predict who will get married next. But I guess going to be you since you're the only one left. Or maybe we ask the universe who going to be Hapai next. You think your cousin already Hapai? Wait, no tell me. You know, since small kid time, I could sense. I tell people, come see me, Crystal Marie. I stay in touch with the cosmos, but no call me one medium, cause I want large. But if you try ask my sister, she gonna say, I want extra big large. So no listen, in fact, she also going to say, I want junk psychic too. That I going to tell you everyone else's fortune instead of yours one, and that the whole thing gonna take forever. Oh, she's so mean. Make me all frustrated and throw me off. Speaking of my sister, she's same like her name, Fortuna, cause she went real tuna. So no get your fortune from her. Only kind mystical gift she get is premonition. That's when she drinks so much beer she thinks she can see visions from beyond. She no more crystal ball, she get highball. More better you ask one magic 8 ball, cause then only get 1 in 20 chance the reply going to be hazy, ask again later. But you try ask my sister and you're going to get a hazy reply every time. 20 out of 20 times. Even if you try shake her planning for try get the fortune you like. Speaking of crystal balls, you know this one I get my Vovo would give me. Real crystal, all the way from the Azores she bring them. Her most prized possession. Even when the boatman steal her bags, she managed for keep them. But I'm not going to tell you where she went hide them. Oh wait, try wait. I think I went here my bead curtain lack. Maybe get somebody for visit. I go check real fast. Right, hang on. Oh, false alarm. Was the wind or the spirits? For real, sometimes I cannot even tell. Okay, so wait, when is your party again? I give discount if get good food, but depends. What kind of food you guys going to have? Wait, no, tell me. I see cone sushi and pork adobo in my future. Speaking of pork, I don't know if you know, my best friend, Genoveva, once saw the face of the Blessed Mother Mary in the pork fat of her vinga doge. After that, she only eat chicken. She no even can eat Portuguese sausage without having to pray to the Virgin first. No can believe, so humbug at breakfast time. Speaking of sausage, you guys making soup for good luck in a marriage? You should. It's auspicious and delicious. Hello? Hello? Then there's a long dial tone and a count of 5. Aye, she went hang up. How come? The phone rings again. Aloha, this is Crystal Marie. How may I? That's you, Cheryl. So, you ain't seen my ad.
Hey.
I just want a little note though. The last time I read this, there were 3 ladies named Cheryl in the audience, and they came up to me and they said, "We liked your story, even though our names are Cheryl." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, the Cheryls!" They came at me.
Okay, thank you, Misty. And our next reader is Joseph Stanton. Joseph Stanton has lived in Hawaii since 1972. He has published 8 books of poems, including Prevailing Winds and A Field Guide to the Wildlife of Suburban Oahu. His work has appeared in Bamboo Ridge, Poetry, New Letters, Antioch Review, Harvard Review, New York Quarterly, and many other magazines. So let's welcome Joe Stanton.
Hello. First poem I'm going to read is called Hiroshige, and the several ukiyo-e prints referred to in this poem can sometimes be viewed at the Honolulu Museum of Art, which actually has one of the best collections of Hiroshige in the world. My poem concludes with lines that echo Hiroshige's death poem. Hiroshige. Hiroshige, you traveled your vision for an endless procession of emotions, rendered as exquisite landscapes. You understood the slant of rain upon scurrying Tokaido travelers. You taught us how to see the sudden shower as a grid of inescapable diagonals. You knew how to make an absence of ink into a profundity that hunches the lonely snow-covered walkers into themselves. Clenched in the grip of cholera, you died in pain, but since you softened the world into designs, I will do the same with your death. In Moonlight at Kanazawa, one of your last works, you revealed a vulnerable peninsula, stark against melancholy, moon-shimmered waters. The zigzag of geese threading the moon pointed you the way. Leaving your brush on the Azuma Road, you went to see the famous, unforeseeable sights. So also in Bamboo Ridge, the next 2 poems. This one is Rainbow over River Street. And those of you who have experience with Honolulu will know that River Street is right behind the Cultural Plaza. And for a long time, actually, there's been no road that accepts automobiles on there. So there's various tables where often there are mahjong players right there by River Street. Rainbow over River Street. A rainbow sings low over River Street's bridge after bridge after bridge, a chorus of curves. The bright clack-clack of mahjong tiles keeps time in the key of light. And the next poem, also in the issue, is called Mongoose. And I live by a ravine, so I often see these critters. Mongoose. A ribbon of fur streaks across my sidewalk, then rises on its hind legs, head slightly bent, long neck arched. A sleek question mark gazing sharply at me with a fierce, fearless, ice-cold calm, as if asking, "What are you doing here?" So then I want to read a couple poems from my new book, one of my new books, Prevailing Winds. And these are actually both bird poems. And first one I'm going to read is inspired by honey creepers. Many of you know that the honey creepers are endangered. In fact, most of them actually are extinct. By the way, many of the 10 poems from this issue appeared in Bamboo Ridge originally. I want to mention that. So I'm going to read just the prologue from my honey creeper sequence. Honey creepers prologue. Honey creepers speciated, theory has it, from an eruption of rose finches, wind-driven to these islands 4 million years ago, give or take a million years. Entrapment on an island changes body and soul. All of us know who live on these rocks in the sea. From pairs of Adamic finches, these divergent multifoliates rose and rise still, but extinction's grim harvester hunts them, his sickle sighing in the breeze. And so lastly, I'm going to read about a bird that many people are familiar with, frigate bird. Haleiwa's name declares it the Hale of the Iwa, the house of the frigate bird. Most days you can spy one of those big-winged, fork-tailed rascals soaring overhead. In flight, no plane or kite could match, cruising fast lanes of upper air, soaring effortlessly for hours. Then, with a slight shrug of shoulder and tilt of tail, accelerating a long downwind drive, wings brandishing their swords, for a rapid descent aimed at the head of a smaller bird, startling it into spitting up its meal, which the Iwa snatches midair. Elegance of form is like that sometimes, just a way to steal somebody's lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, well, Joe was our last reader for today. I once again, I want to thank the Bamboo Ridge for asking me to be the editor of this volume. And, you know, I just want to remind everybody how long the Bamboo Ridge has been around and been supporting and promoting local writers and writing about the islands and Pacific Island writing. And, you know, I remember, I think I started writing over 40 years ago. There weren't very many of us, you know, and now because of organizations and institutions like the Bamboo Ridge, there is a whole new couple generations of writers who are telling our island stories. And, you know, if it weren't for organizations like the Bamboo Ridge, that, you know, that wouldn't be happening. I've seen it happen too, you know, within dramatic literature too. And I'm always super touched by how many young people I see now writing. So I want to thank the Bamboo Ridge for being there and being steady for so long, being the steady boat. What Misty's showing you now is one of the artist Clemson Lam's watercolors that grace this book. Clem is an architect. He has lived in Waimea on this island, Mokuokiawe on the Big Island since 1980, right after he graduated from architecture school, which he did in 1980. He moved right over here, and I was speaking to Clem one day and discovered that we both went to Manoa Elementary School at the same time. He was just a grade ahead of me, but he's a wonderful watercolorist. I wish I could show you this one is Mauna Loa. You can see when it was erupting over there. But he, he usually has an art show at his house once a year, and I think he just does beautiful work. He and his wife also are two of the people who helped start and continue to maintain Keala Kahawai o Waimea, which is a trail that kind of starts in Waimea and is headed towards the ocean. Someday it will get there. So Clem also is really dedicated to that, and you can see him riding his bicycle all over Waimea too, with his helmet and his goggles. Yeah.
Okay, we have maybe like 10 minutes for questions. If anybody in the audience has questions, or if you want to join us on screen, like put your name in the chat so I can add you as a panelist again. Let's see, I think it was Diane and Dawn. Let's see. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Let me try to look in the question and answer thing. Let's see. No. Okay. How about the authors? Do you guys have any questions for each other? Oh, go for it. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what everybody's working on now.
I can start because I also was just responding to a question from Sue about what is the form that the poem I wrote was in, and it's a cento, C-E-M-T-O. And what I'm working on right now, actually, that the poem I read will be part of, is a new collection of poems entitled for the cento, that is the title poem, Advice to Guest Residents, that actually was a cento written, made of lines that I took out of the guest resident book at a residency in Playa. Just lifted the lines that I loved, and it kind of became the title poem of this book. So I have really come to love this form and the way in which it brings a lot of voices together and informs me in the process. So if anyone is interested in that, I just can't recommend it enough. It's also a wonderful way if you sort of haven't written poems, or if you feel kind of blocked, like don't know where to start. I mean, it's an incredible process. It really is. So anyway, my current work is a new collection that includes a whole lot of centos, and I just am really loving that practice and what gets discovered and the conversation that develops as a result.
Okay, Cheryl, what are you working?
Well, my poetry group here in Kauai, we just finished publishing a book, Kauai in Haiku, which is available on Amazon. And it's both haikus and tankas, and everything in it is about living on Kauai. And we kind of did it chronologically, so there's kind of about volcanoes and Pele and the development of the islands in general, and then all of the flora and fauna, and then everything up to tourists and shave ice and big ass cane spiders and that sort of thing. So that's just now hit Amazon, And I'm also currently working on a nonfiction book. I'm fascinated with all the parks on Oahu. First of all, there's about 350 parks. And one of the category of parks are mini parks, or pocket parks is another term for them. And there's 32, well, actually there's 30. There were 32 when we started, and now there's 30, so they lost 2 of them. But what we discovered is the history behind some of them. Some of these parks go so far back so it became a historical deep dive. We have memos and maps from the 1930s and all sorts of interesting information, even though some of these parks are a little bit neglected. They're in odd corners of like the Palama district or the Kahili district. So I've finished all the photography. That was my last job when I was just over there on Wednesday, was to finish up one last park. And then we have most of the research put together, and it's just a matter of writing up all those 30 vignettes and trying to get that into an actual book.
Great. Okay, Joe, what are you up to?
Yeah, I just want to mention I have a book that just came out, Lifelines, poems for Winslow Homer and Edward Hopper. Some people know that I do write a lot of poetry inspired by the visual arts, so that just came out recently and that's available. For next year, I have coming out a book that I'm calling Catterskill Cove, and it's actually been a long time to finish that, but it's a book of poems inspired by Hudson River School art. So I don't know if anyone is fans of Hudson River, the first great movement in American painting, really. Even so, anyway, I've got that coming out next year. So I have those 2 projects coming out, and then of course, I'm also hope people will notice that Prevailing Winds is still available. That's the one I read from today, and that has a lot of Hawaii-related poems. So even though I'm heading off to the Hudson River area with my next book, I do have a long history of Hawaii things too.
Great, thanks. And Don, what are you working on?
Well, I'm sending Malco around, of course, which is work in
Don?
itself. And am I coming through okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Don. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. I got nervous there for a minute. Yeah, well, as I said, I'm sending Malco around. We'll see what happens. But as soon as I calm down from that, I wrote a novel set far to the west of Hawaii in the Solomon Islands on the island of Bougainville, where I did a lot of field work. And I finished it, in 2010. It was 300,000 words, which wasn't going to fly. And I had no very good idea of how to cut it down, so I just put it on, well, as we say, put it in a drawer. I put it in a backup disk. But I'm going to go back to it because I think I see how to get it way, way down. So that's what I'm going to do next.
Great. And Sue, how about you?
Well, it's kind of crazy because I'm working 3 things at once. And it's a sort of come to I plan to pass the century mark, but it's the sort of, if not now, when thing. And I have never published a book of my poems, a whole book. I have a chapbook called The Octopus of Imagination. But and the reason is that I'm all over the place in the things I write about and the tone of them. And I just didn't feel that my poems went together. I love a unified book of poems and not just my best stuff so far, But now I'm realizing that I have a bunch that do go together, and I'll have to leave out whole other things, but they do go together. So I'm trying to do that. And a lot of those poems were published in Bamboo Ridge, and almost all of them are set here on Oahu. So that's one thing. The other thing is, for years, I've been fascinated by an early modern artist named Paula Modersohn Becker, and have written poems about her from time to time, and then set that aside. It's very difficult I would love poems and pictures to go together. It's very difficult to get the permissions because of German copyright laws. So, but I had felt from the beginning, I was just absolutely stunned by her art and felt that the things people were saying about her were not enough. And two very famous poets have written long poems about her. One is Rilke, and the other is, her name skips my mind. Oh dear. Oh well. Anyway, you would know. And I think they both read themselves into her. And so and she died at the age of 31. And so the natural thing to say was, just think what she could have done if she had lived. And it was turn of the 20th century when women artists were an anomaly anyway. So everybody assumed she painted 700 paintings, and almost half of them in her last year and a half. She made a tremendous breakthrough, and they're now beginning over a century later to realize that she was a major figure in the development of modern art, and ranked with, right along with Matisse and Picasso. And so it's been a long time coming. And so I've just gotten excited about this first major retrospective exhibit of her in the US is just now happening. And so anyway, I'm all excited about that. And I'm putting together a chapbook, and the new poems are going together with the old poems, and it's very exciting. The other thing, number 3.
So you were thinking of Adrienne Rich, right? Adrienne Rich.
Adrienne Rich, yes, thank you. Yeah. And both she and Rilke kind of read into Paula what they wanted. But anyway, I think maybe I'm doing the same, but who knows? Anyway, so the third thing is, a few years ago, I started collecting poems about aging that are written by old poets. And I found it to be so encouraging, the whole ageist thing, and the assumption that everything is downhill and there's only gloom and doom ahead. It just doesn't wash. And who better than poets to tell you that this is a whole new stage of life? And I really feel that way. I was so encouraged by that I thought, I've got to share this. So I've started putting together an anthology, and it's going to be, there's a catch-22 in doing an anthology, because publisher wants to know who's going to be in it, and the people who are going to be in it want to know who's going to publish it. So I'm going to find my way around this somehow. But anyway, those are my 3 things.
Great. Okay, Misty, what are you up to?
Bamboo Ridge takes up so much of my time, but I also I have sort of like an ADHD writing, habits, and I'm always working on something different and new. But yeah, working on the monologues mostly.
Great.
There was a question about whether this would be made available, this reading, for others to enjoy. And yes, this is being recorded. We're going to go ahead and put it up on our YouTube channel. I'm sticking a link in the chat for some Bamboo Ridge things. Yep, our YouTube channel. And then the best way to support Bamboo Ridge is to get a subscription or buy this book. And so I put those links in there too. But yeah,